So now that Empire star Jussie Smollett's character has been written out of the remaining episodes of the show this season, what's left of his career, if anything? Let's bring in Eric Desenhall, author of Damage Control, The Essential Lessons of Crisis Management, which I imagine Jussie Smollett's lawyers and communications team will want to grab a copy because it's a fantastic book. And I wanted to ask you, Eric, is this any different from scandals that you've seen in the past, or does it fit a pattern?
Well, I think one of the patterns is this. I think that when people get caught, what I find is everybody always says, why don't they come out and admit it? Well, the last person to realize what trouble they're in is the principal in a scandal. And this goes back to the Bible. What do Adam and Eve do when they get caught? They cover up. They deny. And in order to admit what you did, you have to admit what you are. And that's some very hard cheddar to cut. So it takes a while. And the reason why this is such a rough one is because there's a difference between making a mistake and orchestrating a scheme. And the allegation here is not that somebody did something stupid, which we all do, but that someone orchestrated a scheme for the entire premeditated purpose of profit and did so by trying to tap into emotional concerns about how vulnerable people are treated.
And it goes right to the heart of the culture war, as you said.
Well, on one side of the culture war, you have people who have legitimate grievances. On the other side of the culture war, you have people who are tired of hearing about everybody's grievances and have the tendency to believe that those grievances are either overblown or fabricated. This taps into both and doesn't bring out the best in anybody.
Well, let me ask you this about when you have a client like this, as a lawyer or a communications team, you come and you know that they're in big trouble. But he last night even, at the set of Empire, where he was doing some finishing work, I guess.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
So is that, how does he not know? I don't understand that.
Well, you're dealing with human psychology, and again, I come back to the idea that to admit what you did is to admit to what you are, and a lot of times people like this, in fact, in almost every case I've ever seen, they genuinely believe themselves to be victims. Even if they did the thing they're accused of, the rationale is, I had a reason that people like you just don't understand. And so the first thing you have to consider is, do you want to take a client like this? I've made mistakes in my career about taking corporations and individuals on before they had the realization of what they can do, then of what's doable. And then you have the issue here, I've heard people say he needs to apologize. Well, if your position in a court of law is that you're innocent, you cannot apologize because apologies are admissible in court. So you have to figure out, do you want to accomplish a legal objective or a career objective?
Any thoughts on the media coverage of all of this from either side or either angle, or also about the problem that being a victim is celebrated and that this leads to this kind of false report?
Well, that is the core problem here, is that we want to believe that people who are suffering are legitimately suffering and we want to help them. When somebody tries to co-opt our feelings of protectiveness toward the vulnerable, there really are very few worse types of manipulations. And you see a lot of people who fall for things like this, whether it is a racial incident or the Me Too movement, where it's getting harder to differentiate between people who really have a good grievance and should be protected and people who are exploiting a climate for their own profit.
All right, Eric Desenhall, I always love learning from you. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Dana.